We've all heard of the importance of leveraging our time before, but what exactly does it mean? In this video, I'm going to share what it means and offer 4 ways to better leverage our time. In simple terms, leverage allows us to achieve more with less. In the case of time, using leverage helps us achieve more in less time. Throughout history, we've developed the ability to do many things faster and more efficiently. We've even found ways to multiply our efforts. Before cars, we got around by horse and buggy. Before horse and buggy, we simply rode horseback. And before horseback, well, we had to walk. When you factor in planes and high-speed rail, the time it takes to travel has drastically decreased thanks to our ability to leverage faster modes of transportation. What once took many months can now be done in a matter of hours. And transportation's only one example of how we've found ways to reduce the amount of time it takes to do something. If we look for them, life is full of ways to achieve more in less time. We just have to look for them. If I'm able to accomplish one thing in this video, it's to impart this advice. We must have a mindset that forces us to question how we are doing things in our life to determine if it can be done another way, in a way that will allow us to achieve more using less of our time. Leverage is often described as a force that will allow us to multiply our abilities. We all know that multiplication provides a greater result than addition, so figuring out how to multiply our efforts is key to finding ways to leverage our time. Our ability to establish a system or approach that will multiply the outcome of our efforts without an increase in the amount of time needed is the recipe we're looking for. Now that we've covered what leveraging our time is, here are 4 ways to better leverage our time. Before I start, here's a disclaimer. These are meant to serve as concepts and ideas. They don't represent an exhaustive list of ways to leverage our time. There would be just too many to list. It's up to each of us to find different ways to apply these methods in our own lives. Number 1, find people to help. J. Paul Getty said he would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of his own. As an example, if we had to build this fence by ourselves, it could take weeks or even months. Trust me, I built it. On the other hand, if we hired a team that was completely dedicated to the project, it could be done over a weekend. Now I know what you're thinking. In some cases, this may mean that there's a cost associated with it, especially if we have to hire people. But in other cases, it's simply a matter of asking people for help. People are willing to help if we are courageous enough to ask. Delegation is a powerful way to leverage our time. The ability to delegate is a critical skill for anyone looking to get more done in less time. Without this skill, it's nearly impossible to achieve results beyond what we can personally do ourselves. Let's face it, we've all known people that aren't being fully utilized. Our ability to put their skills and talents to use will help us leverage their effort and therefore greater maximize time. Remember the power of numbers. We can do things more quickly and easily when we work together. Leveraging individuals means empowering others. It means allowing employees, coworkers, and yes, even friends, help us accomplish whatever initiative or project we're tackling. As an example, the owner of an online business may consider hiring someone to manage their social media accounts, maintain their website, or even answer customer questions. Now, of course, they need to invest some time up front to make sure they're equipped to effectively support, but that time will be well spent as it'll pay dividends in the long run. Most successful entrepreneurs are masters at leveraging the power of people, as it allows them to achieve more than they could ever do on their own. Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, or Mark Zuckerberg would have never made their companies successful without the efforts of other people. Regardless of what we're working on, applying this kind of leverage will help us get more done with the time that we have. Ask yourself the question, what tasks are you working on individually that could be done faster and easier as a team? Number 2, use tools to automate or eliminate. Benjamin Franklin said the best investment is in the tools of one's own trade. One of the most common things we think about when it comes to leverage is tools. A lever itself is a tool used to help move a heavy object by applying force to a rigid bar resting on a pivot. If we think about it, our life is full of tools we use to help us save time to make things easier. Opening a can without a can opener sounds a bit challenging and potentially dangerous. This is why we use a can opener, or better yet, it's why we buy cans that can be opened with the leverage of a pull tab. Corkscrews exist for a reason, and we wouldn't try to open a corked bottle of wine without one. Yet in life, many tools exist to help us maximize our time, but we often use them ineffectively, or more commonly, not at all. Email is one of the biggest time sucks in our life, yet many of us go through life checking email in an incredibly inefficient manner. If leveraged effectively, email can be far less painful and become a tool to optimize our time. There are countless tools used to help us manage tasks, block our calendar, plan projects, and track our time in general. There are also tools to help us not do certain activities. They help us avoid what I like to call the distraction monster: social media, text, notification, and any other kind of content. While all these tools are helpful, the tools that provide the most leverage are the ones that allow us to multiply our efforts. These are the tools that allow us to do repetitive tasks in an instant, or even remove a task entirely. In the home, some examples include a robotic vacuum, the dishwasher, or even our clothes washer and dryer. In our modern world, we take some of these tools for granted. Imagine if we had to wash every item of clothing by hand. As our homes become smarter, we now have the ability to turn on and off lights in an instant, order items by simply asking our Alexa to buy them for us, or lock all our doors at once. At work, tools help us automate activities or allow us to batch process similar jobs at once. We have to critically ask ourselves, what repetitive tasks are we currently performing that could be automated or processed more rapidly? We must continue to look for tools that exist that might eliminate the need to spend time on something. And that brings us to number 3, batch process tasks. Recently, I had to move 30,000 pennies from my car to my studio. Now, you may be asking, why in the world do I even have 30,000 pennies, let alone why do I have to move them? If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll soon find out why. Anyway, back to the pennies challenge. Since pennies come in $25 boxes, little fun fact, I could take a couple boxes of pennies at a time and carry them from my car to my studio through a few trips. Or I could find a way to carry them all at once, to move them as a batch, as in all together. Think cookies. We would never just cook one cookie at a time, as we always bake cookies in batches. Yet in life, we often do the same repetitive tasks over and over and over again, even though they could all be done at once. In the penny example, it's ideal to transport all the pennies at once in one trip as opposed to many. This is why I used a tool, the dolly, to move all the pennies at once. By doing this, I took advantage of 2 time leverage techniques, using a tool and batch processing. At work, we can batch process emails, batch elements of our work projects, and block our calendar to work on similar activities in batches. We work more effectively if we perform similar activities back to back, as opposed to having to start and start again over a longer period of time. This is also a form of batching. Even if all the work isn't being done all together simultaneously, it is being done in one block of time. As an example, when I record a video, I record a batch of videos all at once as opposed to spread out. I also like to write in batches, shoot videos in batches, and even edit in batches. This is a far more effective use of my time, as when I'm in edit mode, I can focus on just that instead of constantly task switching, which inevitably takes more time. What can you batch in your life and buy back some of your time? If you have ideas, include them in the comments below. Number 4, take the time to plan. Margaret Thatcher said, "Plan your work and work your plan." Getting the most out of our time often comes down to the core principle of planning the approach we're going to take. We often jump into the doing before actually giving some thought into the how we will approach a project. If we take the time to plan, we will think about using the time leverage techniques I've just outlined instead of just jumping right in. Now, even though I'm saying this, the reality is most projects feel so urgent and our instincts tell us get started right away. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. Taking the time to plan how we will do something will save us more time in the long run. The next time you have a project, resist the urge to jump in headfirst and take the time necessary to plan out how you're going to use your time more wisely and effectively. So how are you using leverage to better maximize the time that you have? Which of these methods have you found most valuable? And what methods weren't shared that you found helpful in your own life? Share your comments to join the conversation. I hope you found some value in this video, and if so, please consider subscribing for future videos. Until next time, remember, you're in control of getting the most out of your most precious resource.